All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Loft. If you have not yet, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back.
What's your advice to someone who is lost?
The opposite of addiction is connection, and I could never do this thing on my own.
I've been working since I was a kid, I just gotta keep my head.
That you're responsible for and that your name's attached to, do you feel like that gave you that responsibility to be better than you were? When you believe in yourself a little bit, you'd be surprised what can happen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a web MMA purple belt. She is a Fuel Hunt sponsored athlete. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Mazza'a.
Hi, guys.
What's up, Amanda?
Hello. How are you?
Good. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having
Appreciate it. It's not often I have female fighters and grapplers on, so I wanted to have you on and learn a little bit about like yourself as well as like your background and why you chose fighting. Because we talked about a little earlier, like you're a small girl, right? Like, and I feel like you could have been like anything else, but instead you chose grappling and the fighting in the MMA world. So first off, for the listeners, so to talk a little bit about yourself and where you're from and everything like that.
I'm from Hamilton, New Jersey, believe it or not. I am 27 years old. I started jiu-jitsu at 23. That
was late.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
shit.
I know. And I'm 27 now.
Okay.
I literally wish I started sooner, but honestly, like I've been striking. I've done boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing for probably like almost like 10 years. But then I like started training like MMA. And when I started training, I've started training with a bunch of fighters down the shore. And like I wanted to like learn more about like strictly jiu-jitsu. Like we would do like grappling and like positional stuff and like takedowns and like ground and pound and all that stuff, but I was just like, well, like how do I get to this position? And they're like, oh, you gotta learn jiu-jitsu. And I was like, all right, done, we're doing it. So when I started in 2003, I was literally like one of the only girls. There was one other girl there. She like would only go to open mats, and she just like did it, like she's like, oh, it was on my bucket list, I just want to try it. As soon as I went in there, I was like, I want to fight, this is what I want to do, I want to learn about it. And they were like, whoa, this is like kind of like a more relaxed like self-defense school,
Right.
like take it easy. And I'm just like,
You just want to beat the shit out of somebody.
I'm just like, oh, I want to go balls to the wall. Like I've always been like a crazy child. Like I've always been balls to the wall or nothing at all. Like there's no in between with me. So yeah, I was always like a nutty kid. So I went in there, and I of course was a smaller girl, and I was there every single day. And they're like, all right, this girl's like pretty serious. So I was the only girl, and they knew I wanted to compete, so they didn't take it easy on me. So they just beat the crap out of me constantly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm super fascinated because I feel like, well, first off, I'm curious as to who initially got you in the gym to start.
So like a bunch of the guys I started training with down the shore, his name's Dom Urso, one of my really good friends now. Like he's been in the fight game for like a super, super long time. He is tough as nails, but he's like super emotional and sensitive and like such a heartfelt person too, which like, it's crazy to see that sometimes with these fighters. Like they'll beat the brakes off of you, but they're like literally the most heartfelt people.
Right.
Like you would think like, oh my God, they're crazy, but yet like they'll literally cry over
it's just
a
work
kitten.
for them, right?
Yeah.
It's competition. Tell the competition. And so I noticed as well, like you are a Fuel Hunt sponsored athlete, which is great. And you have a nice following too. So how did you like build this up? Was this through competitions, or how did you begin to really build like your profile and build like your career?
Honestly, like I just kept putting myself out there. I just kept competing. I mean, I was competing after competing since a white belt. Like I just was consistent always. I would take any type of match against anyone, anywhere, like any weight. Usually I'm going up weight classes, so to find people in my weight class is like very, very rare. And if I do, it's usually like a child. Like like one time I went against a 12-year-old. I'm like, yeah,
my God.
I'm a grown ass woman. I'm like, and listen, these kids are built different these days. Like, this is all they do. So like, I don't know what their parents feed them or what, but like it's never easy. But still, like I'm a grown ass woman going against a 13-year-old child because she's the same weight as me. Right. So I mean. That's a little
And so when it came to like the Fuel Hunt side of it, so were you like competing in their or training in their gym, and they saw you, or how did that come about?
Honestly, like we all are like within the Philly area. We all like train amongst each other. And I started training with Molly Zabrowski, which she's like the face of Fuel Hunt, her and Sean Brady basically. And me and her, like, honestly, we have the same mindset, same goals. And we train hard, we compete together, we travel together, we do all these things. And we're the same rank. We got promoted at the same time. We are always on the same cards together. So honestly, I think they just saw that I am as driven and hardworking as her, and they were like, oh, well, you want her to be a part of it too. So Molly was like, yeah, like, bring her on. Like, I'm telling you, like, she's great. So like, honestly, like, you know, when you train with the best, you know,
you eventually become one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so growing up, you said you started in 2003. So you were, how old were you when you started?
23. Jiu-jitsu 23.
So how old were you when you started like training in general?
I was 16.
Okay, wow. And so did you do any other sports? Were you doing anything?
Oh, yeah. Well, growing up, I did everything. I did soccer. I did competition cheerleading. I did field hockey. I played volleyball. I tried to play basketball. I was a little on the shorter end. That didn't work for me.
Yep.
I did softball. I ran track. Like, I literally was always an athlete, but I've never done individual sports. I wanted to wrestle in high school, but I come from a very small town.
Right.
So they were like, no girls.
Right.
Like, but you could be the manager. So like, I was the wrestling manager. They would let me work out with them sometimes, but like, still, it was just never taken seriously. And I'm like, no, like, I want to do this. Like, I want to wrestle. Like, I want to do it. Like, even when I was a little kid, like, I was always like beating up boys on the playground and stuff. Yeah. Like, I was just always a rough little kid.
Do you have any older brothers or older siblings?
I do have an older brother. My brother is 30. He's 3 years older than me.
Because usually when it comes to girls who are like want to beat the shit out of everyone, they have like older brothers who beat the shit out of them first. So
well, honestly, my brother is the opposite of me. Like, he is not the athlete. He's very quiet, a little bit socially awkward. Definitely very more to himself, where I'm like the outgoing and I'm the athlete.
Right.
My brother is a musician and he's in a band. Like, he's super, super talented. So like, we are completely polar opposite.
Right.
Like, we're best friends, but like, he's the musical one, I'm the athlete. So like, and then people would mess with him in school and I would beat the shit out of them. Got suspended a couple times. Can't deny that. I was a little rough around the edges, because if you mess with my brother or my friends, it was like, it's on. Well, you mess with me, I'm like, whatever, I'll walk away. You know what I mean?
So do you have any other siblings or no? No. And then what about your parents?
My parents. Well, my parents, you know, they always knew I was a little rough, but I grew up in like kind of like a very broken household. So that was another reason why I was kind of a little rough around the edges and fought a lot, because my parents weren't really around. My mom, she moved to Florida. My dad, he still lives in Hamilton, but like, they're
much.
Not really. I mean, they're great people, but they just weren't the best parents, unfortunately. But you know what? I wouldn't change any of it, because it really, really guided me to where I am now. Like, and I love them. You know, you can pick your friends, you pick your nose, you can pick whatever you want, but you can't pick your family. So it is what it is. And I wouldn't change anything about anything that I had to go through.
Yeah. So do you think I guess, well, for lack of a better term, the lack of parents in your life, do you think that really pushed you to fight for something? That's what connected you so much with the MMA and the fighting community and the fighting world?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because you know what, I think I was always just pushed shit aside, never taken seriously, never really taken into consideration, you know, like I kind of like grew up because I had to, you know, and again, my brother wasn't as mature as me and whatnot. So like, I really had to kind of take a step forward and take care of me and him and hold it down in a lot of ways at such a young age. So like, I always was a fighter growing up. Like, I always was in fight or flight mode, always. Like, I didn't have a choice. Like, and it's unfortunate, but you know, like I said, it all led me to where I am and who I am today. But definitely, like, even like every time I step out on the competition floor, like, it's never easy. Like, you know, like, it's still nerves. But when you think about like what you're doing this for, like, I'm doing this so much more than just to like win. Like, it's so much more to me than that, because like, I just have always been a fighter. Like, I've been through worse things still standing and breathing. So going out there and grappling against somebody, like, you know, this is nothing, you know? So
when was your first competition?
God, I did it like, oh my God, I did it like 6 months after starting jiu-jitsu.
Really? You jumped right in?
Oh man, I was like, I'm ready. And they were like, well, you know, you got to learn the rules and the points. I'm like, no, let's just go. Like, I'm ready. My first competition was against a 12-year-old. I'm like, oh, this girl, this child, like, I don't want to make her cry in front of her parents. Clapped hands. She slammed me down, put me to sleep. I'm like,
wow.
I woke up. I'm like, where am I? Like, what did I sign up for? Like, this isn't like, I've never like trained with girls. So like, I didn't really know because I just trained with guys. And obviously like they're never going to go 100% with me because
they don't want to hurt you.
Yeah. Like, and even if they're the same size as me, like, there's still guys, there's always going to be bigger and stronger. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some guys that like, I give them a little bit of work, but like at the same time, it's like if they really want to beat me, they're gonna beat me. You know, like being realistic in that sense. But technique definitely matters being a smaller person. But yeah, no, that was my first one, and I was like, all right, on to the next. And I had another match against another girl, and I did a little bit better, and she was actually 16. So I'm like, okay, like I could be a little bit rougher. I don't gotta feel as good. Yeah. I mean, because again, my weight class at that point was like 110 pounds. So I fought a little bit better that time, and then she still like submitted me, but I was like, you know what? All right, let's sign up for the next. And I just kept signing up for one after another. And you know, if we don't have losses, we don't appreciate our wins.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's huge, because I always think that way too. I always think that like you need to go through a little bit of adversity to, you know, learn anything about yourself. I think a lot of times people are scared of that, and they're scared to go through certain things. But I mean, a lot of like recently I've been like more open to taking them on just because I know that I'm going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I always count my blessings, and I always like think to myself that if there's something I'm going through, it's always I always acknowledge that it's just that period of time. I'm in a shitty period of time where it's like I don't let it affect anything outside of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So talking more about like your upbringing, when you were growing up, you talked about like your parents weren't really as much in your life. So were you living with them, or what was your living situation like?
So I was living with them up until I was 12. Things kind of turned upside down when I was 12. Like basically like both my parents just disappeared. My dad went away for some time to rehab. He was gone. And then my mom kind of just was like so flustered about everything, she just kind of left. So it was really just like on me and my brother. And I really like had this one family that just like really helped me more than anything. And she's still my best friend till this day. And it's pretty crazy because she was adopted as a child too. Like, and her family, they're amazing. Like, and they've literally adopted her because they couldn't have kids of their own. And they really helped take care of me as much as they could. But at the same time, like, I'm not their kid, you know? And I was fortunate to have them help me as much as they could. But like, at the same time, they couldn't step on my parents' toes. And, you know, there was a lot of other things going on that they couldn't always get involved in. So like, I don't know, I couch surfed a lot. You know, me and my brother, we walked to and from everywhere a lot. I started working super young, bussing tables.
How old were you?
12.
You started working at 12 years old.
Bussing tables.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But when you're bussing tables, yeah. I started working super, super young. And then, they're Blueberry Farms, because I'm from Hamilton, blueberry capital of the world.
Right.
Blueberry Farms in the summertime. God, we started working there young, like 10, 8.
I know I'm gonna cut you off, but what did working that young teach you? Because a lot of times when we're growing up, I know especially for myself, I had the luxury of just focusing on basketball. I had the luxury of just playing sports and going to school. So I never had to think like that, where I had to be like, oh, I need to worry about where my next meal is going to come from, or where I'm going to sleep at next, you know? So what did you learn working at such a young age?
Just honestly discipline, like just kind of like shut up and get through it. Like, that's it. Like, chin up, gone through it. Like, that's it. Like, nobody cares, work harder. And that's why like I was so drawn to Fuel Hunt too, because like I was 12 years old, like on my own, like, and I was sad, and you know, and nobody felt bad for me. Like, and there was a point where I was just like, I don't even feel bad for myself. Like, I'm good, I got this. Like I said, I grew up young because I had to. And honestly, like, that saying, like, nobody cares, work harder, like, that's literally what I would tell myself. So, like, when I came across Fuel Hunt, that was another reason why I was like, because that's like their like thing, like that's like their quote, like, nobody cares, work harder, like, that's it, get through it, keep pushing no matter what, like, and that's just it. And I would work, like, and as I got older, when I got to 15, I'm sorry, when I got to 15, there was a restaurant that was across the street, so I would bus tables and then go across the street to it was called Anada's Wine Bar in Hamilton, and I was a food runner. So I would bus tables till like 7 o'clock, and then I'd go across the street to dinner over there and was a food runner, carrying trays like triple my weight and size, like, but still, and I would get like $10 an hour for that. Like, that was a lot of money for a 15-year-old, you know?
Right.
And then on top of that, like, in school, like, I was an athlete too. Like, I was a field hockey player. And, you know, I was field hockey. I did softball a little bit, and then I switched over to track. So, like, I was always an active athlete in high school.
Sounds
too.
you were active in and outside of the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so did you go to college?
No, I did not.
No. So, okay. So after high school, did you decide to pursue fighting full time?
After high school, I basically moved out of Hamilton completely. Kind of just like, I went through like a really traumatic situation, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I moved away, changed my phone number, had no social media, and kind of just like went ghost for a little bit to really like get my head together. And at that point is when I really started boxing a lot. Like, I was boxing like constantly. Like, I had one coach that like would literally work with me at least once a week. I would have to drive back to Hamilton for him, but like still, like, I would try to like be kind of hidden in Hamilton, because like I just didn't want to be around Hamilton.
Right.
But then, like, anytime I had a chance to like hit a punching bag, or once I was able to afford my own, I bought one, set it up, and like that's all I did was box and run, box and run, box and run, box and run. So like I moved out to Ocean City, and I would run that boardwalk every single day. Like, I got down to like 100 pounds, because that's all I did was run and box. Yeah.
Was that like a release to you almost?
Yeah, definitely. I like I said, I went through something like super traumatic, and I just kept running and running and running and running, and I was running anywhere from 6 to like 8 miles a day, like every day, no matter the weather. Like, I lived out there for a year, so like even freezing cold, like I was out there, I was running, like, and it just really like helped me kind of like just constantly just gather my thoughts, because obviously you know how the mind works. It's like
it wants to go in a million different directions.
Yeah, so it definitely was my form of therapy, as well as boxing. And then after that, once I like got really skinny, I'm like, okay, I'm a stick now. Like, I feel weak. Like, I have power, but like I feel weak. Like, now I need to like start lifting, and I started getting really big into lifting and whatnot. So
was there ever a time that you did feel like helpless in a way? Was there any times you felt like defeated?
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, yeah. And there's still times that I do feel like that. But you know what? Like I said, like, I've been through worse still standing and breathing, and that's something I always tell myself. I've been through worse still standing and breathing. I can get through anything. Like, I can get through anything. Like, I've had things and people literally try to destroy me physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, I'm like, I am honestly unbreakable. Like, as cringy as that sounds, but it's seriously true.
No, it's
like,
true.
I can't be broken. Like, I strongly believe, like, my journey has been hard, and I've been through so much because I'm meant for like so much more. And it's constantly a roller coaster, like, in life, and you know, we all know it, but like, I just know I'm not meant to live an average life. Like, I'm not, like, it's just not in the books for me. And that's why, you know, I face a lot of the adversity and struggles and pain that I do, because I'm like, I know at the top of this mountain, like, it's gonna be worth the climb. Like, it's 100% gonna be worth it.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I think that something I've learned is that your self-talk is ultimately how other people see you.
Yeah.
Because when you talk to yourself and tell yourself that, you know, you're worth more, or you're unbreakable, that, you know, you're going to act that way, and people are going to see that. And because at the end of the day, people only see you for how you treat yourself. And that's something, the most important thing is that I've learned is, like, it doesn't matter. A lot of times people's judgments on you is how you carry yourself and how you walk around. And if you're not telling yourself that you should be here, or you deserve to be here, then no one's going to think you are. It's like, nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So do you think that, you know, with everything you've been through, does your brother, you and brother still keep in touch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And is he still in Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay. How important growing up, when you two were dealing with, you know, with everything you were going through, your adversity, how important was it for you to keep your relationship together?
Honestly, I kept a lot of stuff from him. He didn't always know what was going on. He didn't always see the things I see. He didn't always know. Like we, like I said, like we're very different. He's very emotional as well as I am too, but like I'm a little bit more strong-willed, and he's such a good person. Gentle. My brother, like he's gentle. Yeah. Like he's so, he just like, I can't even find the word. Like there's not a bad bone in his body. Like he's got no fight. He just wants to love and give. Like that's him. Like, and he's so fragile. And like, that's why when anyone tries to mess with him or hurt him, I'm like, I'll fucking kill you. Like he's my big little brother. Like he's the best person I know. Like honestly, best person I know. Like I honestly, I'm proud of him for chasing his dreams, but still like I kept a lot of stuff from him. Like he didn't see a lot of the things I saw. He didn't go through everything I had to go through. Like there was points where I had to go and deal with some certain stuff with my dad. There's certain points where I had to deal with stuff with my mom, like, you know, and I kept him away from it. He went through some of it too, but like I think all of us kind of did a good job keeping it away from him. Like my parents put a lot of the weight on me, and you know, till this day they'll say like, you know, for us putting you through hell, like you turned out pretty okay.
Well, at the end of the day, you were the one that could take it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, I was literally their punching bag. Like, I was my parents' parent for a very long time. And, like, I would say, like, the dust has settled a little bit now, but there's still situations where it's still, like, I'm trying to get my life together. Like, I'm a full-grown woman. Like, Mom, you live in Florida. Dad, grow up. Like, I love you guys. At the end of the day, I love them. But, like, at the same time, it's just, like, you know, like, you guys, you care now, like, you know, and I don't, listen, I feel like I forgive them. I have let a lot of stuff go, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's still hard, you know, like, I didn't have a normal life as a kid. I didn't, like, from 12 on, my life went, like, from here and flipped completely upside down, and it just, honestly, I can't be mad about it, though, because it all literally made me who I am. Literally made me who I am, and you know what, sometimes when they're being a little bit better, they say that. They're like, you've honestly turned out really good. And that's like a nice bit of clarification, you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, like, yeah, you didn't do your best, but you know what? I'm glad you see who me and my brother's name is Tyler, who we turned out to be, because you know what? We've never went down any wrong path, ever. We've been through some stuff, but like, we've always been good people. Like, and that's one thing, like, I kind of remind myself when I'm having my rough times and days, like, I'm just like, you know what, like, I could have picked left or right. I could have done some really crappy things. I could have turned into a drug addict myself. I could have done some really crappy things as well as my brother, but like, we both have always stayed the course and chased what we wanted. Like, he's a musician, like, and he travels the world for the tour, like, in a band. Like, he's phenomenal. Like, he could hear a song one time and play the guitar. Like, he's the most talented person I know when it comes to that. And then me, like, you know, I want so much for myself, and I just keep chasing it. I keep chipping away. I'm not there yet. I'm not close, but I'm not stopping. You know what I mean?
So, Amanda, I want to ask you this. Do you think you found your purpose? And if not, what is it?
I do. I honestly do. I think, you know, I've been a fighter all my life. Like, I really have, physically, mentally, emotionally, like, literally, from throwing dirt bombs to boys on the playground, to, like, now, like, you know, doing what I do. I really think this is definitely my purpose. And I think me being a smaller person, not just making it about size, but just in general, like, I think that speaks for itself. Like, if I could do this, like, you could do this. Like, you know, like, I'm a small girl. I'm 5 foot, 115 pounds. Like, this is what I walk at. Like, if I could go out there and compete and you know, bust my ass and just constantly push and push and push, like anybody can, like anybody. Like I know one girl that I train with, her name's Amanda as well.
Okay.
Like all my best friends' names are Amanda. That's why we call each other by our last names. It's actually pretty funny. Yeah. She's literally 80 pounds and she's like probably like 4'8", like tiny little girl, but she is a scrapper. Like she has got more heart than anybody I know. And she goes out and competes and she always gets bumped up weight classes because nobody's in an 80-pound weight class, and she's a blue belt. So like even her rank, like it's hard. But this girl's got all heart, and she like really looks up to me itself because she's like, if you're little, you could do this, I could do this. And she's so freaking good too. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about yourselves, because I feel like, especially when it comes to combat, you know, there's weight classes, but like height and size is a lot too, you know.
Yeah.
So being naturally small, like Henry Cejudo, you know, for example, someone like him, right? Like,
oh my God, crazy.
You know, so it's like, you know, people who are smaller but still able to be at the top of their game, that just comes from consistency and it comes from hard work.
Yeah.
You know, and so do you have an ultimate like goal for yourself where you'll be like, listen, like I made it? Like
honestly, I mean, yeah, of course I want to make it the black belt. I'm at purple now, so 2 more belts to go.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
I just got my purple belt though, so I got
congratulations.
It's a hard journey though so far. I've been taking some L's and getting my ass kicked, but I think it's a little bit more in here than in general, which you know, that's every belt level.
Do you think that is combat sports in itself though, mental?
Oh yeah.
It's all mental.
Oh my God, that's a separate game itself. Like the mental game is literally completely different. Like I'm telling you, like I never really believed that. Like everyone's like, oh, it's in your head, it's in your head. I'm like, nah, like I'm mentally strong. Like I know, like I've been through worse. You know what I mean? Like that is a different game itself. Like,
can you elaborate certain experiences?
So, oh God. So I got my purple belt in December, and at the end of December, I took a match on Fury Grappling, which is over at the 2300 arena. It's like on a stage, lights, music, walkout song, announcers, like audience, everything. Like on a stage, same as Cage Fury, MMA. So same place, same setup, everything, just not in a cage, obviously.
Right.
So my first time I went out there was last August, or this past August. I went out there and it was my first super fight. Okay. And I was so nervous, and I was a blue belt at the time. And I was super, super, super nervous. I went out there and I was just like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. Like I'm a blue belt. Nobody cares about a blue belt. I went out there and I literally dominated, and I ended up getting posted on UFC Fight Pass. And like, that was a whole thing too. Like that was huge. Like for you to get acknowledged like on that, like that was really big. Like I had a really good performance, and that got acknowledged, and they posted a clip of me, and I'm like, oh my God. Like all my teammates are like, yeah, like, UFC Fight. I'm like, and like my coach kept making jokes about it because I train obviously with a lot of the UFC guys, and he's like, well, she got posted on UFC Fight Pass, like cracking jokes about that.
Well, that says a lot too, because you don't know who's watching, no matter what. And that's what it's always important to go 110%, whether you're in front of 5 people or 100 people, because that one person can be someone who's in the stand just who happens to work for UFC and sees you and says, wow, this is a bright young talent. You know, and it's tough though. It's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
I mean, I could even translate it to myself, like where let's say I'm DJing for a small crowd or a small party. That one person could need me for a party in another month or whatever. And like 2 summers ago, I was DJing Keenan's, and someone in the crowd worked for Screwball, and they're like an ambassador, and then I ended up getting sponsored by them when they had like their sponsorship program, just because they heard me play there. And it's like, you don't know who's watching, who's listening, no matter what, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So going back to that, like, you know, I went out there and I didn't even like think anything of it. So and then the next day after, I had another competition, and I was like such a high from that win, like and like I was like, oh my God, like so excited. I barely slept because my adrenaline was so high. The next morning I had to go and compete again at another big event, not really on a stage, but one that's on a very big live stream. It's called Flow Grappling. At Finishers in Bethlehem. They always have like awesome promotions. They're always putting me on. They're always super cool. Like they have some crazy stuff out there. So I was very fortunate to be picked to do that again. That was another super fight. So it was my second super fight in one weekend. So I'm like, at this point, like I'm tired. I already won a big one. Like let's do it. So this one, like, it was a great match, and this is where I had that crazy flying armbar where I just was like, screw it, and jumped over the girl's guard and lifted her arm and armbarred her like in the air, like.
That's crazy.
And that one like went viral too. So it was like 2 big viral posts in one weekend about me. So I'm just like, oh my god, like, cool, like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
I started getting recognized like after that weekend, which was in August. Like, that's when I really started like. Think like people really started like, because Flow Grappling posted me, they actually posted the caption, guard passing is for suckers. Like, I was like, but after that, like, I really started, like, I saw my following growing. Some coaches like started reaching out, like congratulating me, but one coach particularly Jay Regabudo, he is one of the main commentaries of like all over. He's an ADCC. I don't know if you know what ADCC is, but it's like one of the top grappling events. He's a judge for that. So he had reached out to me, and he's like from Jersey area near me, and he is just phenomenal. This guy like studies jiu-jitsu like nobody I've ever seen in my entire life. Like he knows jiu-jitsu from the inside out. Like he will stay up all hours of the night and study jiu-jitsu. Mind you, he runs a business. You know, he's a judge for this. He does a million different things, has a family, but still manages to study film like no other. Right. So he took special interest in me, and he was like, hey, I know you have what it takes. And I'm willing to help you get there. Like, so he doesn't have a school or anything, but like he teaches when he can. He comes to my school a lot. He's very close with my coach, which is super awesome. Like that's super cool because my coach is great. My coach is literally has more knowledge and experience than a lot of people too as well. Like he was a UFC fighter himself. So, and he's got a lot of things and trains with a lot of people. So he's got the experience to also be a great coach. So I really have 2 really good coaches.
So what does that mean to you to have someone like him acknowledge you?
It meant the world to me, honestly, because he coaches some of the best, like he's helped some of the best in the world. Like one of my really good friends, Danielle Kelly, she is a 1 championship grappler, and she is my size, 115, and she's a 1st degree black belt. So so I met her when I was a white belt, and she was super awesome then, and she wasn't in 1 yet, but she was just like already like out there killing it and competing. And you know what, we and her come from very similar backgrounds, a little bit different, but like very similar. So that's why we clicked off the bat. Like we honestly have a lot in common, and you know what, me having somebody like her has only pushed me and motivated me more, because you know what, like she got through all this adversity in life, and now she is where she is. Like she's the best female grappler in the world, literally. Right. So, you know, so for him to acknowledge me when he's working with people like that, it just was like, oh my God, like
shows that you're meant to be.
Like
there.
I'm just like, this is meant for me. Like for people like this to acknowledge me, like even my coach Donovan, like I lost 1 match not that long ago, and he came and coached me, and of course I get off and I'm upset, and he's like, listen, like you have it. Like I don't just say this to anybody. He's like, you have it. And when he said that, like I'm like, I know he believes in me. I know he believes in me. Even his wife, like she deals with all of us fighters and grapplers in there, and we're like all her children. Like she's the best. Alex, shout out to you. She even says like, listen, like you have it. Like they both were like, you have it. Like we're not just saying it, like you have it. Like so for people like Jay and Donovan, like 2 of like the most knowledgeable people like in this sport, to tell me like I have what it takes, it's like, all right, these people believe in me so much, like I need to believe in myself. Like and there's times where, you know, like this sport is highs and lows, like anything in life, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just it. And lately, like I really kind of starting to scratch the surface of my potential, and I'm like, I have what it takes. I know I do. And, you know, it's not going to be an easy journey. Like I'm going to have wins, I'm going to have losses. Like it is what it is. But like, when you hit those lows, what do you tell yourself? I just ask, like, am I supposed to be doing something else? Like, is this really where I'm meant to be? Like, you know, like I question it all, obviously, as we always do. But then I snap out of it, and I go and train even on days I really don't want to. And I have a great training session. I'm like, yeah, I'm meant to be here. Like, you know, like I'm meant to be here. And then I have such a great team too, like great friends, like great group of girls in this jiu-jitsu community that are like, also like some want the same thing, some not so much, but you know what, we all support each other. Like a lot of my teammates, like they're not all competitors, but they're all like in there to help push me, you know, and,
Right.
and they're all higher ranked too. So like I'm blessed to have that, to be training with every single day.
Right.
Like, cause Danielle, unfortunately she lives up north, but like still when I get to train with her, it's
Right.
just as good because she's my size.
Right. Let me ask you too. So do you have any, anyone that you look up to, any role models? It could be in and outside of fighting. The only reason why I ask is because I know it takes a certain push sometimes when you aren't able, or you aren't you don't feel your best, or you don't feel ready, or you don't feel like that you're supposed to. Is there anyone specific, role model, idol, or someone you looked up to in your life that has pushed you to when you were at your lowest, or anyone that you look up to when you need advice or anything? It could be, like I said, in or out of the cage.
I mean, I would definitely say it's hard to say. I would say Danielle is one of them since I started this journey, especially the more I've gotten to know her, because this girl went through a lot, and she went through a lot, same thing at a very young age, and to see where she is now, you know, it's like, what doesn't kill you literally makes you stronger. Like it just definitely her, and as far as the sport, but in life in general. You know what, as crappy as they were, I would definitely say my parents, like, in a sense, like, they weren't the best people and they weren't the best parents, but seeing their grind and drive, even just for themselves, because I would say, like, they were pretty selfish in some ways, but, like, even watching them and being, like, an outsider of it, like, you know, they've always just grind, like, they always did, like, you know, they got divorced and they lost everything, both of them. They lost everything. Like, I mean, they had whatever they had from after the divorce, they had to build from the ground up completely. And they did it. Like, my mom was working like BS jobs just to survive for herself. Like, she didn't get alimony, unfortunately, in the divorce. It's not funny. Long story, but
Right.
so like she worked, like she was delivering newspapers in the middle of the night. She was working in the back of the house, like folding clothes and inventory, you know. And my dad too, like he owns an antique shop. Like, he's very into antique and furniture and all that business. And, you know, like, there's points where he was back in his building after he came back and was literally selling anything and everything to make money to pay the bills and keep the store open. Like, you know, like, they just did anything to survive and grind. And, like, honestly, like, to see where my mom is now, like, she really turned her life around. Like, she went back to school at 40-something years old. Like, my mom's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. She's bilingual, so she went back to school for English as a second language. So she's a teacher right now, and she's
That's awesome.
62.
Really?
62, yeah. Yeah, so, like, she went back to school, and she's a teacher. Like, she went back in her 40s, got her master's. Like, it's amazing. Like, and she's probably going to go back and get her doctorate. So, like, you know, like, yeah, she might have left us behind and did it, but, like, she still did it, you know?
Right.
Like, so I can't hate her for it, because, you know what? Like I said, like, I'm thankful for everything they put me through, because they made me who I am.
Right.
The circumstances weren't always the best, but, like, my parents always, like, same thing. Like, they were always survivors. They always found ways to grind and make it work and build everything back up. Like, 'cause when I tell you, like, both of them had nothing after the divorce, like, had nothing. Like, I mean, I had nothing, but I mean, they had nothing.
Right.
So, like, to see them do anything and everything to survive and build their life back up without each other, like, I would say, like, that itself, like, kind of motivated me. Like, it showed me, like, okay, they weren't the best parents, yeah, but them as individuals, like, they're both super strong-willed people, and you know what, like, they're survivors, and, like, they didn't let anything stop them, and they kept going. Like, they faced a lot of pain and BS and whatever. I mean, forgot about their kids, whatever. But them as people, it just really was crazy to see that.
I mean, and it sounds like it still hurts you, but it's allowed to. But one of the harshest realizations and one of the deepest realizations, but one of the most powerful realizations, is realizing that they're better off somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that could be with family. That can be with relationships. That's a part of growing. And it also, what else comes with that is realizing that Amanda Mazza'a wouldn't be who she is today.
No, I
right?
wouldn't. I literally would not.
Right. And there's a lot that comes with that. And like I said, it's shitty sometimes, but when you sit down and count your blessings, I think you can realize you got a lot more out of it than you realize. And granted, I know it's tough. It's a lot easier said to not maybe have a mother figure, a father figure in your life all the time. But something I've learned is that family are people who choose you. It's not always blood. Like you said, you know, sometimes it's like I said, it's not always the blood that are going to be closest to you. It's the people like Danielle, people in your corner that are going to pick you up and build you up.
Yep.
And people who see the potential in you that you may have wished that your parents have seen in you. You know, but like I said, it's always the people who choose you, not necessarily who are blood, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, you're attached to them, and maybe who knows what can happen in the future, right? And you can always show love with them from a distance, and they can show love to you from a distance. But regardless, at least you know who you have in your life. You have your brothers super, super close. You guys built that super close bond, and you have your trainers, your people you work with, and everything like that. And you know, and I think that you being able to fight that adversity and to keep fighting, and you mentioned like your size, you're not supposed to be here, but you are. And
Yeah.
a lot of it comes from sounds cliche, but a lot of it comes from the person you are.
Yeah.
And you said a lot of fighting is mental.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's like I said, it's mental, but you know what? Like, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have the people I have around me. Like, I constantly am like, oh, like, I appreciate you guys. Like, I'm getting teary-eyed even talking about it. Like, I'm so lucky to have my coaches, like Jonathan, Jay. I'm so lucky to have my friends that are my teammates, like, and my training partners, Molly, Sydney, Amy Lynn, Danielle, like, all these girls that are just like Jenny, like, all these girls that just constantly like, hey, like, you got this. Like, even on days like, you know, they'll see on my face, like, I'm not feeling it. They're like, come on, like, let's go. You got this. Like, you're good. Like, before every match, no matter where or what we're doing, like, where I am or what they're doing, like, we're always texting each other, yo, go get it. Like, when we know each other are competing, we might not all be on the same promotion or in the same place, but like, all my friends, teammates, like, they always are like, let's go. Like, you got it. Like, they're sharing my posts, like, they're posting it, they're sending me a text, like, they're watching, they're tuning in, they're paying for the streams to watch me compete. Like, that support, like, little things go a long way for me. And you know what, to know that I have people that believe in me. I even have, like, I teach at Freedom Jiu-Jitsu in Woodstown, awesome school, like, new up and coming, like,
awesome.
super cool school. I teach kids.
That's awesome.
So, like, I have some little girls that literally, like, they're like my biggest fans. And that itself, like, they made me a card. Like, they made me a card, and it was just like, thank you, because I went and coached them at a tournament, and they killed it. Like, it's so funny watching little kids compete, because, like, I had this one little girl, like, she literally was beating the crap out of this other girl, but she was crying the whole time that she was doing it. And I'm like, stop crying, keep going. Like, she's just crying and just beating this girl out. And I'm like, all right. And she won. She's getting her hand raised, and she comes off the mat, like, sobbing, and she just smoked this other little girl. I'm like, okay, I feel that too. But
like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to.
Yeah. Like, so, like, that's so rewarding itself.
Right.
Like, I just, like, and then the fact that, like, they literally are, like, their parents are sending me pictures of them, like, watching me on the screen. Like, we watched your fight this weekend. Like, they all say that. And then, like yesterday, I competed 2 weeks ago, and yesterday I went and taught, and this one little girl, her name is actually Molly too, a little tiny blonde. She's 6, and she was like, I watched your fight last weekend. You did really good. And I'm just like,
yeah.
So, like, you know, the fact that, like, they all sit there and they listen to me, and they call me, they're supposed to say yes ma'am, yes sir, whatever, but they all say, like, yes sir, because they're used to talking to Coach Jeremy. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But yeah, so, like, that's super rewarding too. Like, and if I'm wearing, like, a certain gear, like, they'll go and order it. Like, their parents will order it, and, like, they'll send me, like, look, they got the same rash guard you had on. Like,
that's awesome.
So, like, that's super cool too. Like, you know, Coach Amanda, and they write me these cards, and they like send me these posts, and they send me all this stuff, and I'm just like, wow, like, and I even have people message me randomly sometimes and say like, hey, like I was always afraid of competing, but you know, for watching your page, it really motivated me to do it. And I always answer those people. Like I'm not someone that doesn't look into my like requests. Like my following's not that big to where like things get lost. Like I'm able to see everything. So when people message me those things, or they like wanted advice for competition or anything like that, like I'm still a beginner too, honestly. Like I'm a purple belt. I've been doing this 5 years. Like I'm just as much as a beginner, but like those little things, like that's so rewarding to me. Like that's what constantly reminds me. And it's always the days that I'm like having my mental day where I'm like, oh, like I'm not, it's not clicking. Like I'm messing up here. I'm not doing good here. Like, oh my God, like I don't know if I'm going to be able to ever get good at this part. Like, and then something like that, a little message from a complete stranger from God knows where, like, hey, your posts are super motivating and I could sense your energy. Like, I just wanted to let you know, like I'm doing my first competition, like, and this is why, because I saw this and I read your post, or I read this and I saw this. Like it really motivated me to do that. And like things like that just constantly like bring me back down. Like I'm doing something right, you know?
Exactly.
Like, and I find myself being like, I am who I am. Like I've never been one to follow the crowd. And that's kind of sometimes why I was bullied in school too. Like I was always friends with everybody, like friends with every group. I was an athlete, but I never was a mean girl. Like, and sometimes people are like, man, you're too nice to people. And I'm like, I just don't have, like, I don't have any more anger in me. Like I was an angry child. Like I don't have any more anger in me, and anything I've ever wanted in my life, I've went and got it. Like I don't need to step on other people to get to where I need to be. Because you know what? My dad, he's Italian, a little Italian man. My friends are gonna laugh that I say this, but my dad always says, you know, like you spit in the air, it comes back down in your face. Like, you know, you climbing that ladder to success, you want to step on people climbing up there, burning bridges, are the same people you're gonna walk past coming back down. So that has always stuck with me. And my dad's a little cuckoo, but those little things have always stuck with me about just like, you know, do good, get good, do bad, get bad. Like that's it. Like just be true to yourself. Like, you know, you want something, go get it. Like that's it. You don't like your life, change it. Like that's it.
Sounds like your father was a wise man.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you have a responsibility, and I think that like you see those kids who look up to you, and you start to realize for yourself that you have a responsibility not only to yourself but to those kids who look up to you to be the best Amanda Mazza'a that you can be, right?
Yeah.
And it's super humbling, I think, to see that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you know what, like you ask me, I'm like, I'm nobody. Like I'm nobody. Yeah. Like I'm just getting my name out there. Like I'm nobody. Like, you know, some people get lost in this and they're like, oh, like I have a name to obtain. Like I have an image to obtain. Like nah, like I am who I am.
Yeah,
like
I think there's two sides to that. I think there has to be that humbleness where it's like, yeah, like I'm nothing, whatever. But then there also has to be that slight ego that tells yourself, you know, like to yourself, and I am like, you know, I worked my ass off for this. Yeah. You know, I think that only has to come out when you're challenged.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I think like you don't got to tell like this little girl's mom, yo, I'm the shit, whatever. Like, like nice. Say, no, I'm just someone who's trying to, you know, be somebody. But when it gets challenged, that's when it has to come out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, that's sometimes what happens. Like, I know I got what it takes, and that's why like I don't need to constantly like sit here and talk about it. Like I just let my actions speak, you know.
Right,
like that's just it.
Right,
like you know what, you're hating on me, you're saying things about me, you know, you're doubting me, you're not supporting me. That's fine, but you know what, when I do make it, because I'm going to, don't act like, oh, I knew you, I supported you all along. No. Yeah. And trust me, like it's funny because that's another thing with this, like. People support you, but then, you know, there are people that want to see me lose.
And that's fine.
They'll say they support me, but I know who really does and who really doesn't. Like, and that's unfortunate, you know, because, you know, like I always said, jealousy is an ugly trait. Like, you don't like your life, change it. You want something, go get it. Like, nobody's stopping you. Like,
well, our biggest enemy is ourselves.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Dream big. Why not you? Why not? Like, why? Like, you. That's it. And me, that's how I've always been. If I want something, I'm that person that's literally willing to do anything to get there. And like, if you're not with me, you're against me. And I'm such a nice person. I'm the person that sticks my hand out for anybody. Like, oh, like, yeah, come. Like, you know, people come to train with me all over. Like, I've had these 2 girls from New York come 3 hours just to take a class and train with me. Like,
That's awesome.
that was super awesome. Like, I've never met them before, but like, they followed me on social media and they were like, oh my God, like, we want to meet you. Like, we're coming down. So like, they literally came all the way from Long Island to train one random Thursday 11 o'clock class. And like, and I trained with them, and like, they were super cool. And now I have like friends.
I actually had a funny comment I wanted to make. It was you mentioned that you have like kids look up to you. I said you went from fighting kids to training them.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Like,
full circle.
I teach 3 to 6 year olds and then 6 to 12-year-olds, and some of these 12-year-olds, some of these 7-year-olds are taller than me. So they're like, oh, we're taller than you. And I'm just thinking, like, I will
square up. Square up.
I will literally slam you.
That's so funny.
But like, it's funny because like I will roll around with them, and then, you know, I'm like playing around, but like, then they hit a move that I taught them. I'm like,
yeah. like come on, can't use that against me.
oh my God, like, these kids are built different.
Yeah.
Like,
so I wanted to ask you too. What is, like, throughout your journey, what do you think are the pieces, most important pieces of advice you might have learned throughout your journey?
I would definitely say during my journey, like, to just keep chipping away no matter what, like, win, loss, like, every time you step out on that competition mat, even in the training room, you're learning something. Like, you're never going to know everything. Like, even in life, like, let alone jiu-jitsu. Like, that's why it takes 10 years to become a black belt, you know? Like, you're never going to know everything. Like, even black belts, like, still learn. Like, that's what I love about both of my coaches. Like, they're constantly, like, they learn stuff from us sometimes. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, you know, like, there's just so much to learn, and just to always keep an open mind, definitely. Always keep an open mind. You know, keep your circle close. Know who's really there for you, and know who's really with you. That's definitely something big I would have to give some advice to, for sure. And just, like, really believe in yourself. Like, anything and everything is possible. Honestly, like, anybody, like, anything can happen. Like, anything can happen.
And let me challenge you on this. So where do you think your beliefs come from? Where do you think that confidence comes from?
I would say, honestly, because, like I said, like, I've been down in the dirt, like, literally, like, I've been down low in a lot of places, and I've been through a lot of hard times. And, like, the fact that, like, I think about where I was maybe, like, a year ago, 5 years ago, and then I think about where I am right now, like, I'm like, I did it, like, and I'm not even there yet, and I'm doing it, you know what I mean? Like, if you just keep going, no matter what, like, you're gonna get there. Like, you keep putting the work in, it's gonna pay off. Like,
and taking the journey.
Yeah, like, and the journey is everything. Like, the highs and lows of this sport, like, and I've only been in for 5 years, like, and the fact that my journey's been the way it's been, like, God, like, I wouldn't even think that I'd be here, but I wanted to be here. I wanted to be where I am right now. Like, it was my goal when I started. Like, there's one tournament, international thing, it's called IBJJF. When I first started, that was my goal, to do one of those. Like, I'm gonna make it out there to do one of those. Because when I first started super fights, like the one matches, they weren't super big yet, but the IBJJF is an international tournament where, I mean, people from Brazil, Paris, like, all over the world come and do these. And I was like, I'm going to make it there one day. I'm going to be good enough to be able to do these tournaments one day. And I did my first one in June in Washington, D.C. With one of my best friends, Sydney. She's a purple belt. I was a blue belt at the time. And I literally had to cut like 2 to 3 pounds, nothing crazy. Yeah. But me being so small, like, I had like nothing on me. So like, I was in the bathtub all night just dehydrating myself. And I was like, I've never done this. What is this shit? Like, it sucks. Like, I was dying. I woke up that morning, I couldn't even sit. I was on weight. And I literally had 8 matches that day with zero hydration, zero food, anything. And I kicked so much butt. Like, I ended up getting second, first in Nogi, and then second in gi, and I just like killed it. I killed her performances. I went into the open weight class, which is against any weight. I went against a girl that was literally like 145 pounds. Again, I'm 115. She grabbed me by my gi and just started spinning me. You know when you grab a kid and you start I started lifting off the ground. I'm like shit, and I just jumped the flying armbar, subbed her in like 30 seconds. Like things like that. I went out there and I was on fire, and I'm like, wow, like to even stand on that podium in front of Washington D.C. Open IBJJF, like I cried. Like I'm like, I'm here. Like I'm literally here. Like, and all summer I kept doing them, and I've done a couple more. I did pans recently. I did no-gi pans in Texas in October, which is cool as you travel for these things. So for me to be out there doing those alone, like that was a goal for me. And like to literally be there, like it just was like
Tumbling.
It's just like, wow, like, and you just keep chipping away. Like I went out and did pans. I got my butt kicked. Like I literally had to chop off 4 inches of my hair to even make weight. Like
wow,
that wasn't fun. In a trash can right before I went in to weigh in. Oh yeah, literally. I have a video of it and everything. Like, cause my hair was down to my hips, and I was 118.6, but I had to weigh in with my gi on, my belt and everything. So I was out there with Molly, my girl Sydney, and my girl Kate, and they all were competing as well. And I was 118.6, and you had to be 118 on the dot. So I was like, crap. And I was spitting. I was running, spitting. And they were like, you got to cut it off. And I'm like, all right, sir, can I have your medical scissors? Big silver medical scissors. My girl Kate's like, I got you. Chop. My hair was like, and then I went out there and I competed, and then again it was my first purple belt IBJJF, so it was obviously a lot harder because purple's one of the hardest levels, and I lost. I'm like, damn, just cut my hair just to lose. But I finally got it fixed. My hair was like but like that's, you know, sometimes that's what we got to do, like
right, it's the love of the game.
Yeah, and that's just it. So
let me ask you one last question.
Yes.
If your parents are watching and they're sitting in this room, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that I love them, and you know what? Shit happens, and as long as they're happy, I'll always be happy. Like, that's it. I forgive them. I forgive them. I really do. And you know what? I'm working on building a little bit of a better relationship with them, and they're trying. I mean, my mom was in Florida, and she got a beautiful home for me to visit down there with her fiance. So like, I'm pretty lucky with that one. But I forgive them because, you know what, like I said, like they weren't the best to me, but they taught me so much. And like I'm not even mad at them for it because, like I said, like I don't think I would be half of what I am if I didn't go through what I went through. So yeah, it sucks that the circumstances were really, really bad, and I went through some really horrific, traumatic things, but I learned so much so young. And that's why, like, honestly, like, even me, like, and these little girls looking up to me, like when people come to me and they're like, oh, you don't understand. I'm like, oh no, but I do. Like I've lived it all. Like
right.
I really have. Like not everything, obviously. We all have our stories and stuff, but I've lived through a lot. And like I said, I think that's why I'm so humble and I'm so heartfelt and I'm so caring. Like, cause I get it. I get it. Like I see both sides of everything always. Like I'm not like, nope, it's this way or this way. Like I'm very optimistic. I'm a Taurus. Right. You would think I'm stubborn, but like I've had my stubborn times, but I think now, like how I am, like I just see things how they are. Like it is what it is. Like
a little bit more logical.
I'm not sitting here like it's black and white. Like it is what it is, you know? So like my parents, like I love them. I will always love them. You know, I would thank them, honestly, as crazy as that sounds, because like I said, like I really like who I am, and I like who I'm becoming and who I'm continuing to become, and who, like I'm just gonna keep getting better, like wiser, stronger, braver, like all of those things. Like I'm just gonna keep leveling up. And like I said, like if I didn't go through all I went through, like I don't think I would have the drive and the motivation to be who and what I am. Like honestly, like that itself, like people get bitter and they feel sorry for themselves. Like I don't feel sorry for myself. I really don't. I don't blame anything on my parents. Like that's it. Like no one cares. Work harder. Like
don't get bitter, get better.
Yeah. That's just it, honestly. Like I like who I am, and I like who I keep becoming. So I would literally thank them, honestly.
Good. Me and Mazza'a, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. It's first pod.
Yeah, first pod.
But you were a natural, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed that episode of The Loft. My name's Kevin Nichols. That's Amanda Mazza'a. Peace, guys. Peace.